Morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at your work week forecast for November 27th through December 1st. And we're looking at a relatively low impact weather week this week in terms of how much, in terms of any weather that's going to affect travel. The one exception to that could be some snow squalls that can move through with a front tomorrow. And then otherwise, though, we're looking pretty good. Just a little bit slushy still this morning, but most of that rain is clear. Whatever's left is drizzle, and very quickly the roads are becoming just wet if they're not there already by the time you see this. And a little bit of wet road on Fridays. It looks like we'll have a rain system move through with a little bit of light rain on Friday as we head towards the end of the week. But otherwise, looking pretty low impact. Here you can see not that much going on across the country here. Although we do obviously have our system that kind of is wrapping up overnight. This is actually becoming a pretty strong system. And what it's going to do is it's going to drag an Arctic front across the Great Lakes and is already starting to do that. We'll show this to you as we get to the wider radar look. But it's going to drive some cold air across the lakes and across the Northeast. It means that we're going to set up a good snow belt to our west. We're going to take a look at that in a little bit. But off of the lakes. So if you have travel in Western New York, either off Lake Ontario or Lake Erie, you definitely want to be aware of that because we're talking about some localized spots that could easily get 2, maybe even 3 feet of snow out of this. But across southern New England, not much of the lake effect makes its way. Sometimes we get a little flurries, but as the front comes through that kind of kicks that off, we could get some snow squalls with that. That would happen tomorrow, and that could provide some tricky travel. Sometimes those snow squalls where you get an inch of snow and it snows really hard briefly can be some of those times you're not expecting it and the roads can get kind of treacherous. So just want to be careful about those. Particularly, that tends to be worse on places like interstates. So if you're on Route 7 or something like that, which is not an interstate, and you hit something like that, you just got to be careful because you just don't know. You can't see all of a sudden and it gets real bad. And then it gets better about 15, 20 minutes later. So just want to be careful about those kinds of things going forward over the next couple of days. Here, as we look at radar, you can see the main bulk of our precipitation is moving off. We may get a little bit of this. This is sort of the first front to move through. This is not the Arctic front. This is sort of a first front, and then there's a second front behind it. As this swings through, we probably could get some showers later on this morning. They're going to be in the form of like sprinkles. But you can already see the lake effect train wanting to get going, and as we get the Arctic front that will come through tomorrow, it will really get the lake effect train going. And again, big sections of western and even into central New York could see some decent snow out of this off of Lake Ontario as well. All the classic spots. Again, that doesn't affect us in southern Vermont, except for sometimes you do get some flurries, especially at the higher elevations as you're squeezing out the last bit of moisture from the lakes, but nothing that you're going to be significant, except for when that front comes through. Let's take a look at wider radar here, and it kind of tells the story. Here's that first front that's going to swing through. Here's the Arctic front behind it. This comes through sometime early mid-morning tomorrow. That's probably when we have the best chance at the timing for those snow squalls. You can notice temperatures behind that. Yeah, this means business. A lot of single numbers across Minnesota and across central Canada there. That's going to swing in this direction. We're probably not going to get down into the single numbers, but definitely a lot of teens. Wednesday will be a very chilly day, even for this time of year. We will not get out of the 20s on Wednesday, which will have a little bit of a breeze. So for this time of year, that's pretty cold. Not radically cold, but pretty cold. Okay, let's take a look at that front. That should not say Friday midday. That should say Tuesday midday. My goodness. Tuesday midday. Here's our front kind of swinging through, and it's when that comes through. So I think the snow squalls timing on that could be anytime from about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning for about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when we have the chance of that brief burst of heavier snow. Not going to add up to more than a coating to an inch in some spots, but it could make travel briefly slippery, like I said, and then after the front moves through, it'll clear out. It'll also mean colder air and breezy conditions behind the front, and so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that as we head towards your forecast. Okay, so today we get up close to 40 today before the fronts start to knock that temperature down. We got some sprinkles left over. And like I said, we could have a brief period of light rain as that first front moves through, but that'll probably be pretty weak as well. Temperatures fall back into the mid-20s tonight, and we're up in the low 30s tomorrow. Probably high temperatures actually, and temperatures stay about steady and fall through the afternoon. High temperatures probably about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Again, flurries, squalls. Got to be a little careful about travel. Wednesday is a cool day. Thursday is also a cool day with temperatures in the upper 20s on Wednesday, after starting off in the teens, down near 10 in some of the cooler valleys. Same thing on Thursday, a little bit warmer on Thursday as we start to rebound a little bit. The flow goes more zonal to even a little bit southwesterly, and that sets the stage for a little bit of light rain on Friday. This could be a little bit of mixing in the higher elevations, but this looks mostly wet, not slushy, the storm on Friday. Let's look at those highlights for you. Oops, before we get to patrons, let's look at the highlights. Less active weather week, temperatures below average for the middle of the week. Flurries, snow squalls on Tuesday could lead to some briefly slick travel. Friday brings a weak storm with light rain, and next weekend looks seasonable and good for early season skiing. Looks relatively dry next weekend at the moment. So yeah, it should be a good ski weekend as we head towards. We're still in a relatively active weather pattern though, and still in a relatively cool weather pattern. So snow is definitely on the table the next couple of weeks. Don't look like anything too big storm-wise out there now, but it is definitely possible. It could also be kind of slushy like it's been. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens with that. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons to help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guy. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel before, I would encourage you to do so. Helps make sure you don't miss any of my videos. I will be back on Friday with a look at your weekend forecast.